Good morning, students. Welcome once again to Pedagogical Content Knowledge in Biology. This is our last session for the unit, for the model. So this lesson will be very interesting. Now, let's look at our objectives for this lesson. So these are our objectives for this lesson. So in this lesson, I'm saying that at the end of the lesson or session, you'll be able to think about how to structure biology presentation. 2, be able to explain the meaning of advanced organizers. 3, you'll be able to identify some categories of vagueness terms. Okay, so these are our objectives for the presentation. So we move to the content of the whole presentation. Now, making the structures clear. So Osobel's concept of advanced organizers is useful in thinking about how to structure presentations. Okay, so as I was saying, Osobel's concept of advanced organizers is useful in thinking about how to structure presentations. And these advanced organizers tell students what they will be learning before the instruction begins. For example, a biology education instructor could begin a presentation on favorite food as follows. Today, we are going to discuss favorite food. We will discuss the types of food and the nutrients derived from them. Then I will show you 10 slides and ask you to name the types of foods and state their nutrients. Then tomorrow we can discuss in our lesson. So this is a good example of the structures organized by a biology teacher. So I'll move to my next slide. Advanced organizers give students a structure within which they can assimilate the specific presented by a teacher or a text. So a clear explanation of the nature of the content helps students to focus on the main ideas and order their thoughts effectively. So when you are structuring your presentation, you should consider Osobel's mode of presenting information. There should be kind of advanced organization. So begin by letting your students know what they can expect to learn from a presentation and why it is important to know it. Afterwards, you summarize the main points or ask questions to elicit a summary from students. Also, a clear introduction and a strong summary will help students to remember essential facts and then concepts. So these are the structures you have to make before you present information. Now, using clear language. When you are presenting information, the language you are using should be very clear. So I'm saying that in addition to problems with their organizational structure, presentation can lack clarity of vague or confusing language. So Smith and Land in late 81 reviewed studies indicating that the effectiveness of presentation is reduced by the presence of vagueness terms and mazes. So they identified 9 categories of vagueness terms. So these things, when you see them in your presentation, we can classify it to be vague. So let's look at the vagueness terms. So 1, ambiguous designation, like somehow, somewhere, conditions, among others. So all these terms are ambiguous. And then negated intensifiers, that is not many, not very. So when you bring in these things, it doesn't make your presentation look legit. And then we are talking of approximation. You say about, almost, kind of, pretty much, sort of. So all these things are not needed when you are presenting information. And then bluffing and recovery. bluffing and then recovery. You shouldn't bluff. When your presentation, be who you are and then present the content very well. So there shouldn't be any kind of bluffing in your presentation. So you say actually and so forth, anyway, as you know, basically, and then you say in other words, and then you say to make a long story short, and. So all these things you are bluffing. So there's no need to bring these things in your presentation. Error admission. Error admission, for instance, you can say, excuse me, I'm sorry, I guess, I'm not sure. These things are errors. And then indeterminate quantification. Indeterminate quantification. So you are not determined with the quantification. So example of these things are a bunch, a couple, a few, a lot, a little, some, several. So you are indeterminate in terms of your quantification. And then multiplicity. Multiplicity is talking about aspects, kind of, sort of, type of. All these things are multiplicity. There is no need to bring them in your presentation. And then possibility. Possibility, you can say chances are, could be, maybe, perhaps. All these are vague words that do not need to come in your presentation. And we also have the last one, which is talking about probability. Now with probability, you are saying frequently, generally, often, probably, sometimes, usually. These words are vague words which you have to do away with when you are presenting an information. Now, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm. Now, biology teachers are enthusiastic about a subject, and then students are likely to develop enthusiasm of their own and ultimately to achieve at higher levels. So you, the biology teacher, the way and manner you teach in the classroom will reflect on the students because you are a mentor and then a role model in the classroom. So students are looking up to you to copy some characters. The next one is the teacher enthusiasm includes conveying sincere interest in the subject and dynamic vigor. So when you are showing up interest, you are letting students know that indeed you are interested in the area you are teaching or you are interested in what you are presenting, then we can say that you are enthusiastic. Now, enthusiastic biology teachers are alive in the classroom. They show surprise, suspense, joy, and other feelings in their voices, and they make material interesting by relating it to their experiences and showing that they themselves are interested in it. So as a teacher, you have to ensure that these things are captured and then you practice these things to build up your enthusiasm. Now, encouraging students' questions. Encouraging students' questions. Now, students typically ask very few questions during biology lessons. So you can encourage them to do so by using techniques observed in a teacher's openness to students' questions. So when you're the questioning technique, the way you ask questions in the classroom will motivate students to give you a response. So when you ask the question, you give room for students to answer what you've asked or give you a feedback. So the biology teacher would like to give answers to relevant questions asked by students and decline to address others because they would divert the discourse from its intended goals. So as a teacher, when you are answering questions by students, you should try and answer them appropriately. Now, we've come to the end of this course, and then we've done a lot from Unit 1 to Unit 6. We've gone through a lot of content specific objectives about pedagogical content knowledge in biology. You guys have gone through everything. So I believe you'll be writing your quiz 2 very soon. So wishing you all the very best in your exams, then quizzes. But let us review our last session. So I want you guys to answer these questions, which is going to serve as a review for you guys. So you can discuss the questions. Wishing you all the very best in your discussion and then a fruitful discussion.